our first ever joint venture tonight, whereas we're in conjunction with the Mad Darbarian Post-Apocalyptic Theater. He's the one who went out and got this great guest who we're going to learn all about and all of his ventures currently and all of his ventures previously. But first, we got to tell you about Delco Live's sponsors, Al.
Oh, let's start with Fat Cow Jerky. That's right, Fat Cow Jerky. Facebook, Instagram, or fatcowjerky.com. You can see all these delicious flavors up on here. Jalapeno, garlic, honey habanero. They got it. They're utterly perfect jerky flavors. They also have some treats for your favorite four-legged friends. Check them out at fatcowjerky.com. If you're looking for another way to have a good time, Dolan's Bar is that way. You go to dolansbar.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. 10 PJ will take care of you. You got Quizzo, music, great times, memorabilia. Even you never know who's going to pop in there from time to time.
It won Best of Delco for greatest place to meet a celebrity.
Yeah.
Yet again.
Why not, right?
Jeopardy because of that.
And you know what? Things happen in life. You get hurt at work, you get hurt in a car accident, personal injury, or you just
a celebrity punches you.
Yeah, celebrity punches you because you just said the wrong thing. You know, cherryinjurylaw.com. David R. Cherry's your man to fight for your rights. 610-565-0300. Number again is 610-565-0300. Check them out at cherryinjurylaw.com. Hey, Delco. Would you like to sell your house quickly without having to fix anything or go through a realtor? Are you behind on your mortgage or property taxes? Did you inherit a property? Are you a landlord just tired of fixing leaky toilets? Well, we got the answer for you. Visit www.evanbuyspa.com for a no-obligation cash offer. That's right, Evan buys houses in Delco for cash, as is. For a fair cash offer, go to www.evanbuyspa.com. With Evan, you don't have to pay any commissions, and you can close on the date of your choice. If there's anything you want to leave behind on the property, like heavy furniture, trash bags, all the junk in the basement, you can do it. And for a limited time, he will cover all your closing costs. That's right. Visit evanbuyspa.com. That's evanbuyspa.com. Again, the website is evanbuyspa.com.
So we got with us Big Mike Paquin, and we will get to him in a second. But let's explain the man in the Norse hat over here real quick.
Greetings, warriors.
This is the Mad Darbarian, longtime fan, great friend, and been an absolute supporter since day one. He has his own show called the Mad Darbarian Post-Apocalyptic Theater. And how many of those hats or styles of those hats do you have?
Right now, I have 4. This is more my summer hat. It's a little bit lighter.
Okay.
You know, as it closer to Halloween, I wear the one with the large horns. But my wife does wear the biggest horns in the family. But that's how it works.
Gotcha. And you, you just reminded us you were actually a previous contestant on Delco Jeopardy.
Yes.
Weren't you a mascot in high school too?
Yes, I was the Bonner Friar.
You were the Bonner Friar. Okay.
Yes, and I'm the one who got into a fight with the O'Hara Lion at the Bonner O'Hara game. We were both pretty much drunk, and then as we were smacking each other around jokingly, and then he knocked my friar head off, and then I just went full Darby on him. I served justice under God for a year and a half straight. My last day at Jug was the day that I graduated Monsignor Bonner. Thank you, Duke. You suck still. Even though you're dead.
Typical Bonner fashion. He started teabagging the O'Hara Lion.
Teabag mine.
He went full Darby on.
All right, so we just had to explain how fucking Delco the Mad Darbarian is, and there you go.
Darby born, Darby bred. Way I die, I'm Darby dead. Skull.
I can't actually appreciate the skull anymore because the Minnesota Vikings ruined that for me.
Well, when the Eagles played the Vikings last home, after the Vikings screwed up and everybody started going skull, it was the best Philadelphia cheer ever. It was just like they rubbed their noses in the Minnesota snot crap.
That might have been the most erect I've ever been. After we beat
now, right?
Yeah, it was great. Mad Darbarian, you went out and got a great guest for this evening. This is Big Mike Paquin.
Hey,
You are, from my understanding, the Mad Darbarian, obviously from Darby. You are from Collingdale,
Yep,
right
Collingdale's
on the cusp.
I'm from the Darby end of Collingdale, so we're practically neighbors.
The Cherry Street, Pine Street area.
That's it. That's
Okay,
it. The South End gang.
The there's a Verona's Pizza down there, I believe
Ooh,
nowadays.
there wasn't then.
Yeah. The flooding part. You're from the flooding part.
No, not quite. That's a couple blocks down.
Yeah, that's the part God tried to wash away.
I'm from one of the Leo's cheesesteak corners.
Okay.
That was the second Leo's at the time.
And so we have to just jump right into it.
Sure.
You have a very strong connection to the creation of Funko Pop.
Well, technically, my involvement was pre-pop. It was in fact pre-Funko. It was called Brainworks for a short time before it was actually even Funko. I sold collectible toys and memorabilia. I was one of the biggest guys in the country doing it, which made me one of the biggest guys in the world. My specialty was advertising characters, Dog Green Giant, Doughboy, et cetera, et cetera. I used to write for magazines, collectible magazines and newspapers in the 90s, and was pretty big shit in that world. The fellow that ultimately started Funko reached out to me in the late spring of '98, and said, "Hey, I'm going to start this little company. I'm going to make these bobbin heads." And, somebody suggested that I get in touch with you, but I don't quite know why. I said, well, what's your story? He said, well, I'm going to make this big boy. I wanted one for years. They're like $1,200 to buy one. So I'm going to make a new one. And the licensing agent said, you might be able to help. I said, well, yeah, probably so. Between me and a couple of my friends, we probably sold 5,000 or 10,000 of them in the last couple of years, more than any of the restaurants by far. So, oh, wow, that's crazy. I got the problem is I want to make this big boy, but I got to make about 1,000 of them. If I'm going to have it go, I'm going to make about 1,000, make and sell.
Wait, you're talking about the actual the mascot for Bob's Big Boy?
The first Big Boy bobbin head.
Okay, right. So were they? I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you guys. Was there Bob's Big Boys in this area?
Springfield.
At one time, there was in
Delco.
I really only know them from Austin Powers.
Well,
I honestly do.
Where the Raymore and Flanagan is on Balmer Pike was a Bob's Big Boys a long time ago.
Way back.
That would have been way before my time.
Town was before Clover was there.
Yeah, and you made
my time.
The original like Funko Pop style statue of it. Was it like cartoony, kind of like they are now?
Yeah, I mean, you want me to hold this up?
Yeah, totally. So, in fact, we can share that on the actual screen.
This is an article from what became the first. I'm getting the right spot. First collectible publication dedicated to Funko. This was from 4 years in. So this was 2002. Funko was started near the end of '98.
Okay.
So it's a little over 3 years in.
Story of Bob's Big Boy. What a fun fact right there.
Well, Big Boy for areas like ours where there wasn't many Big Boys, we knew it from the game shows. Bob's Big Boy was always like one of the things you could win, a lifetime supply of Bob's Big Boy or whatever. They sub-franchised it, so different areas of the country a family or a company would own. So there was Frisch's Big Boy Bob's, which was the original out in the West Coast. There was Shoney's Big Boy. The Shoney family eventually started their own company.
So Shoney's a real thing, like in Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
There was a Shoney's in Essington, right where the Denny's is. There was a Shoney's there for a while.
Wow.
But that was Shoney's, not Shoney's Big Boy. That was after the Shoney family divested from Big Boys and they did the Shoney's restaurants. Mm-hmm. So there was different Frisch's. There was different groups that had Big Boys in different areas of the country. They had that whole area. But the main one that was known best was Bob's, which was the original founder of Big Boy's name was Bob, and he created the Bob's Big Boy, and that was the one that got a lot of advertising on TV, so people knew that name. Mike, that started Funko, wanted a Bob's Big Boy bobbin head from the 60s, 70s. Anyone he found that the collectible shows was about $1,200. He was traveling back and forth to Asia for a sportswear company, sourcing sound chips to put in T-shirts and all kinds of crazy stuff. Realized how easy it would be to just make something for himself. Ran into the licensing agent for Big Boy at a trade show and said, hey, I'd like to do this. They had a handshake deal. He reached out to me and he said, I'll need to make and sell 1,000 of these things for this to be viable. I said, well, I'll take 1,000 of them to start.
Yeah.
And he went like, what? Like, you'll take 1,000? I go, yeah, I'll probably sell 3,000-4,000 of those. I'll take 1,000. And that's when he knew he was in business. He placed that order, started developing the name of the company, became Funko, et cetera. And that came in the fall of '98, in October or November, and that's when it all started. I took them to the Allentown Toy Show, which is primarily antique toys, showed all my friends that dealt in advertising characters, and they're like, oh, this company's not going to go anywhere. Billion-dollar company with a B now. Billion-dollar
I can tell you, in my household,
they are not cheap.
Between my kids and myself, we have about, I'd say about 50, 60 Funkos in our house.
You got a Rocky Balboa one literally on the table.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it was there until right now.
It's staring right at me.
It was funny because when the Darbarian called me up about this idea, he goes, yeah, he was telling me about the other thing we're going to talk about in a minute, but he's just like, oh, by the way, he was like really big part of the Funko Pop thing, and I'm like, well, he's going to have one staring at him because there's one on our desk at all times.
Well, the thing about it is that I didn't know anything about asking for points or anything like that, and Mike wouldn't have given that to me. He did take care of me back then. I had a lot of special editions, exclusive ones, all kinds of things. But the thing that was a bummer for me was we were out of contact for years, and the company was going public. He no longer owned it, but he was still heavily involved. And they did supposedly a documentary a few years ago. It really was just a puff piece to help sell the IPO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was sort of directed how it should go was by the guy that owns it. I don't care for the guy that owns Funko. And amongst other people, but I think for those first few years, in my opinion, I'm the most important guy that wasn't shown, wasn't mentioned, wasn't interviewed. It was like I don't exist. And
welcome to my life.
Yeah, well, and Mike in the thing had said, about how he got started. And
have you tried wearing a Viking helmet?
I don't have
to. It's worked for a couple guys we know.
I don't have a summer one, unfortunately. So I'll have to wait until the fall with my bigger horns. I'm hornier in the fall. Anyway, the documentary came out. Mike reaches out to me. He goes, oh, you should watch this. You should watch this. I don't really want to watch it. Like, I got a feeling. And I watched it and I teared up because there's my products that I put together, my licenses, my ideas, all right at the beginning.
Oh, really?
And no mention of me throughout. And I just went, you know what? F him, F this. I'm going to let people know the real story. So in the documentary, he talks about where he got the first order that he knew it would be, successful. It's BS because with me, I have the magazine from year 3.5 where I did a full page article about the true first order that was ever placed.
Oh, wow.
And he was involved with this thing. And
so this guy told you to watch the thing that pretty much
insulted me.
You love this. Watch it. We're going to completely pretend like you never exist. Enjoy.
So you're Nikolai Tesla. And he's Thomas Edison. He stole all your shit, then tried to shut you down, and then 100 years later, we'll finally realize the truth and name a really shitty car after you.
I'd love to take that much credit. Mike was a driven, smart guy. He knew how to utilize other people's stuff. He knew how to utilize other people's talents and did that. And
that sounds like a manipulator.
Took care of me a lot in the beginning, but I was very hurt when I just couldn't get the credit that I deserve for the things that I helped do. And I brought licenses to him. I put deals together. I suggested the first ones that went in a package together as a double pack. And Funko's known for their variants. I was the one that had to explain to Mike why to do variants. I was the first thing that ever came in was Big Boy, and I insisted on a variant for my order. Mm-hmm. And he didn't understand what that was even about at the time.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was snubbed completely is what was intellectually insulting to me. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, wait a minute. Like, for instance, moving on from Funko, I marketed the Philly cheesesteak hat. But I wasn't the guy that created the Philly cheesesteak hat. Okay. And so I will tell people, oh, you're the guy that invented Philly cheesesteak. No, I didn't invent it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to take the credit for the stuff I didn't do.
The cheese head version.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
About 20 years ago, there was a whole thing.
They kind of look like a stripper's vagina.
It was not pretty. And had I been the one to put the project together, it might have looked a little different than it did.
They're very bold.
It was a little bit risque, but I think it went in line with Philly. You know what I mean?
Holbrook has a couple of penile-shaped holes in it.
Yeah. So we were going to do a whole.
That's how he eats most of his cheesesteaks anyway.
Them. I mean, I made love to them.
Stop talking like that about me. We were going to do a whole line. We were going to do air fresheners. I could not get a company that could make a smell that smelled like cheesesteak. That's right. I worked on that.
Kind of like
flavors.
Huh?
Otten's Flavors in Essington.
Well, that's flavors. That's not scents.
They also do scents. I used to deliver pieces to them, and I literally asked them what they do one day, and they took me through like it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but
and,
much sadder. And
more touchy feely.
I thought
That's
they
the
were
other
out
thing.
of Lancaster. Because every time I go out to Lancaster, they're all over the place.
they got one right next to it's not actually Essington. It's on Essington Ave.
Off Island Avenue.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's next to Oasis.
That's the easiest way it used to be across from it, like back in that one. Okay, yeah. But anyway, I tried a lot of things, could not find anybody
to make a smell of a cheesesteak.
To get the scent right. Yeah,
where you want to smell it constantly.
I'm trying.
I've had a couple of the bacon flavored candles, and I'm like.
Well, it's a novelty item. So somebody lives on the West Coast and their sister wants to send them a cheesesteak hat. As this is 20 years ago, before cheesesteaks blew up the way they have, as I predicted then, and so they would send it. So when you're doing mail order like that back in the day, you would try and do a bounce back, which was trying to get them to buy something else, bring their order value up. So I was going to do. Antenna balls were big at the time. We were going to do an antenna ball, an air freshener
of cheesesteaks.
4 different cheesesteak products that would come from the same mold, but then different things would be done with them. One was going to be a wind-up walking cheesesteak.
I love that.
Yes.
Turned
out to be a walking vagina.
No, it would have looked more like a cheesesteak. Would have looked more like a cheesesteak. That product, I would have had more control on.
Would it be like basically like the actual like version of like the animated things at the movie theaters, like let's all go to the lobby, but it was a fucking cheesesteak?
That would have been a way to go, and depending on what we did with the factory and stuff, it could have went that way. I mean, we did a line, we prototyped a line of walking toys after the advertising icons. I was handling Mr. Softy at the time. I was doing the licensing.
That's what we call Holbrook.
Well, I did the licensing for Holbrook, and I did
the phrase "handling Mr. Softy" means something different to me.
Funny Face, you guys, Darbarian, you're old enough. Funny Face was like a Kool-Aid type product. It was a drink mix in the 60s.
Oh yeah. Oh God,
so
horrible.
So I handled Funny Face.
Was it better than Tahitian Treat?
No, man.
It was a powder. It was a powder pack.
But the first thing I think of when I think of Darby is literally Tahitian Treat.
Thank you.
And two cigarettes and a napkin.
An Island Lime too. I hope
two lines and two Lucy's and a napkin and a Tahitian Treat. The Darby special.
Tahitian Treat and Island Lime, my favorites. They don't even make Island
Lime
anymore.
They still make Tahitian Treat?
Yeah, I buy it all the time.
What was the stuff that came in like milk gallons, but it was like bright colors? It wasn't. Oh man, what it's called? I used to see these. So like
that's Sunny D.
But it's like purple and blue and red.
There's a bunch of
Boone's
those.
Farm.
It's like it looks exactly like a milk gallon, but it's like if you turn the lights off, it glows in the dark.
I think it's a knockoff of Sunny D. It's
Sunny E.
Yeah.
Sunny F or something.
Yeah,
I can't remember. What
Overcast D.
Yeah, right.
Not so.
Some of that Overcast D.
Not so sunny.
Recommended by dentists all over the world.
Yeah.
Us old folks remember when it was still Sunny Delight, and the 100-grand bar was the $100,000 bar.
And KFC was still Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It was indeed, and it was in this area. They were that franchise was tied in with Geno's. So, the only place that you'd find a KFC
Geno's
back
Burgers,
then was
not
at Geno's Burgers.
Yeah.
There was a fast food restaurant called Geno's.
Geno's cheese.
It used to be the Burger King in Clifton Heights was at Geno's.
Yeah, down Derby too.
I guess older than me.
Well, the only reason I know is my father told me he used to love Geno's Burgers.
You read it in the history books.
The Geno Giant. Folks love the Geno's Giant. So their company.
Was it better than the Big Bruford at Checkers?
God, I don't know that one. You must be younger than me.
I grew up next to Philly.
Yeah,
it was our go-to.
So
Checkers is the chicken place, ain't it?
No,
that's Church's.
Church's rule.
Yeah, Checkers that checkered colored, like red. I think red and white or red and black.
It was
Checkers. It's in the hood.
It would make you. Oh my god! It was the best part about living next to the hood. And when I went to Temple, there's one there too, obviously. You would shit unmercifully the entire day, but it was fucking worth it. Like, you just need to make sure your schedule was ready to adapt. Yeah.
I must secretly eat Checkers because apparently I have that outcome.
As soon as like if I was at Temple and a class got canceled, I'd have off the rest of the day. I'm like, I have the time. I might as well go get the Buford.
Did you just eat it on the toilet, cut off the middle there?
Yep.
I can afford to spend the rest of my day in the can.
Yeah. You got any plans tonight? I'm like, no. Time for a Bruford then.
Some people purge one way, other people purge another way.
He does the binge without the purge.
Yeah.
Well, since we're celebrating Delco, and I had Charlie's Burgers right before I came here.
Yeah.
I lament regularly all the Delco foods that are gone. The macaroni and cheese at Oak's Cafeteria in the Bazaar. I weep. I weep for
Cinnamon
that.
buns there.
I weep for that. You can get
I
cinnamon
remember
buns that are like that.
They were the best. They were the best.
I don't remember the mac and cheese. So I grew up in Clifton.
Yeah.
And I'm 40 years old. How long's the Bazaar been gone for now?
95.
Yeah. No, 99.
Was it 99?
24 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I said, I vaguely remember it. Remember the giant Swiss Army knife and the parrot and the
sheet of armor.
Organ.
Yeah.
He just passed away a few years ago, so they've been clearing out his houses on Bishop Ave.
Do you guys remember when they did close the Bazaar down? Parts of the Bazaar, they kind of scattered. Like of course, Bernie's Pretzels went to Penn Pines and a couple other places.
Close quarters.
Yeah. But one thing they did, so now where it's Stingers used to be a couple different things, and there's a Price Right next to it. Peddler's Alley moved to that open. It was really creepy.
The fella owned that entire shopping center.
Okay.
Who owned Peddler's Alley.
Gotcha.
So he took Peddler's Alley there, and then he kindly reached out to other vendors he knew and gave them a home there. So the eyeglass guy was in the back there.
Yeah.
But it was like open,
a bunch of the other places were in there and in that shopping center, and he did that.
And it was one big room. It wasn't like walking to a mall where there's a hallway and then different stores.
Yeah.
It was just one big open room with like kiosks, I guess you could call it.
Well,
it was a little creepy at times. I'll be honest with you. As a little kid,
you know what? You reminded me that it was bigger at first. It was where the grocery store is. It was
Price
down
Right.
the end.
The Price Right.
Yes, it was bigger, and he did it.
And
then
it was
he had
wide open, just this big, and it was kind of dark too.
It was like
they
going
had,
in
black
an antique
walls.
mall. It was like going in an antique mall or something. It was all stalls.
And at the end, it was really quiet too. So like
there was nobody left. I mean,
yeah, like the eyeglass guy, he stuck around to the end, and he'd be like kind of like, come on over. And I'm like, no, no, I will not.
Well, when they moved over, I think he was the only one that stayed with the dollar store. He was in the back of the dollar store when they moved to the smaller space on the side. Not where the grocery store
on the ale house side.
Yeah.
He stayed there for years and years, and I think he's semi-retired because he had another optician that was in there, would be in there most of the time working in his stead. My aunt was the longest tenured Bazaar employee, so she's extensively, my great aunt who's now deceased, she's extensively interviewed in the Bazaar documentary.
Yeah.
Great documentary.
Good one.
Credited
Really
and
good
thanked, and I'm thanked in the Bazaar documentary. So yeah, that was a hell of a place. If you were an old school mall rat from Delco, you lament all the malls that have come and gone.
So like I would tell people, like when I was younger, so like with that early teen stage, we would walk down either through the parks and come down behind the McDonald's from over there. Of
course.
And
underground? Did you just go underground?
Sometimes you go by underground by Del Mar. Sometimes we'd climb down the big rocks that they finally removed.
Yep.
Because people fell from like broke ankles on McDonald's property, so lawsuits galore. And then we even crazily we would go we would kind of water slide through the pipe. If you went too far, you would come out on the other side of what is now Putt Putt and the old Modell's and everything.
You came down kind of behind Modell's, and there was.
And as you got bigger, it didn't work as well. There was one time, one guy, he was a little stuck in there for a short time, and thank God he went before me because I'm bigger than him, and I would have definitely been stuck. But I remember that because when we were younger, we would go in there to cool off. When in the summertime, you could just walk around to cool off. Or go to the movies because that time the Eric movie theater was $1. It was always backwards though. Like if the movie was leaving the theater, it was just coming in that theater. And it was $1.
That was a second run theater.
Yeah.
So Yaden was that way. A lot of them they'd get the discounted version of the movie and then they could play it.
I saw like the Ninja Turtles movie there and everything. Yeah.
So speaking of movies, and you being mentioned in the Bazaar documentary, Mad Darbarian, would you like to ask him what he's up to nowadays?
Yes. So Mike, you're an award-winning actor out of Chester County, out of Delaware County, Collingdale. All right. You've done a few movies. Tell a couple different movies you were in.
Yeah, I like so many of us, the pandemic really messed me up. I started with two different reality show pilots, what they call sizzle reel which kind of shows the best stuff, and it goes to producers, it goes to networks, tries to get you a true pilot. And I was in 2 of those back to back. It awakened this acting bug that I didn't really realize was dormant, that was in me, and I started finding other opportunities. Just when I thought, okay, you know what, I can actually call myself an actor instead of somebody that just acts. I really feel like I'm good at this and I'm getting somewhere. The pandemic hit, so my one short film that I ultimately won an award for, Best Acting Award at a large film festival, is called The Springs County Psycho. It's a 14-minute, multiple award-winning around the country, multiple award-winning thriller. The problem with a short film is that it's hard to get a whole story arc in there.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to get decent actors and decent writer and decent people filming and editing because there's no budget. And so,
how long ago was this again?
That was 4 years or whatever.
It's funny because like now, like things like Tubi's like a big thing because I think it was like 10 minutes or 12 minutes that they can run. Like they're like shows and stuff. They make series that are just 10 to 12 minutes long.
Right, sure.
And like, think about it, you probably missed that mark. It's like now it's like the perfect thing.
Well, it hit enough things. It didn't get in as many film festivals as it would have. It came out right before the pandemic. So, but it got a bunch of awards. It came full circle after like a year and a half or 2 years, hit the New Jersey Film Fest. And I won it won 1 or 2 more awards at that one. It was its last play in the festival circuit, and then I won a Best Actor award.
Is that the isn't that like the goal of some, upstart like horror films? Because I recall, I believe Saw and Open Water both started by being short films at festivals, got picked up, and then got full plots, and one became a full franchise.
Well, look, I'm here talking to you guys tonight because I want.
Sorry to hear that.
I want to promote the film.
Yeah.
I want to promote myself, and so that's what these festivals and stuff are. They're opportunities for somebody to see what you've done, either with your filmmaking or with your acting. And maybe give you a bigger opportunity. So yes, you're absolutely right. Is the goal is to get in front of eyeballs. So Spring County did okay. I tell people for my money, it's a hell of a little short. Everybody should check it out. It's on YouTube. It's a great little 14-minute film. Very, very enjoyable. But around that same time, I had shot the film that we're talking about tonight, which is Caddy Hack. And Caddy Hack is sort of Caddyshack meets Gremlins. I'm one of the.
You had me at hello, sir.
Don't feed the gophers after midnight.
The show to shirt. So this shirt,
something like that.
It's like the jaws of the golf course.
This was from our
beautiful.
This was from our world.
Do they turn
premiere.
a rabbit when the sprinklers come on?
Not quite because of the sprinklers. I mean, I guess at this point I could tell you because it's on the reviews online. I'm one of the caddies. We're at a golf course. There's a big tournament coming up, and people start turning up gored and dead. And it turns out that the gophers on the golf course have gotten mutated. And
happens every time.
They're killing. They're killing
typical
people.
Story.
Well, it's not
Blame
typical,
the
but it's not as unusual as you think.
Yeah,
the Marcus Hook rabies. It happens.
Yeah, it happens all the time in Delco.
It's kind of the Sharon. But anyway, they run rampant. We fight them, but it's an 80s horror comedy throwback. So it's like, it's got all the tropes and corny, great stuff. There's like a love story, and there's people singing to each other. And there's
Does he knock up an Irish girl in it?
Not an Irish girl, but a cute, wonderful little actress who I'm going to see, or when this plays, I'll have seen at our Philly premiere that would have been on Wednesday night. The lead actress is a great girl from the Trenton area. Most of the actors are from the Trenton area. My Delco self was one of the few non-Trentonites. I play a character called Biggles, who is and it was just a fluke.
My friend had a cat named Biggles.
It was just a fluke. They didn't write the character for me. It just was a fluke that I got cast in that character. But it was.
Did you find it fitting that you literally, did the early stages of Funko Pop with a Bob's Big Boy, which was in Austin Powers, which had a character named Mr. Bigglesworth?
I hadn't really taken that route. So you're bringing something.
You're well.
Destiny.
Full circle.
So, what would you equate Biggles to in the original Caddyshack movie?
Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
My whole adulthood, I was a skinny little kid as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
but most of my adulthood, I've been a big fat guy. I'm gregarious. I like to eat and laugh.
Join the club.
And yeah, I'm amongst my peers.
What
a
freak you are!
One of us.
So
One of us.
I always said I like the funny fat guys. So whether it's the Johns, which would be John Candy, John Belushi, and God, I always do three: John Candy, John Belushi, and some other John.
John Goodman?
And no, not John. No offense to John Goodman. John Benner, Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes.
Nothing. Nothing.
Those guys, Belushi, Benner, and normally
Candy.
and John Candy, and then Chris Farley. There's Curly Howard. A lot of the big funny guys did more acting with their faces. They did more acting with their faces and that kind of stuff. And I've considered them real influences on me. So fortunately, this role I got casted, I got to do a lot of really great mugging and just like reactions and stuff. So it was a pleasure to shoot it. When it got done, we had an outdoor screening during the pandemic, and we're like, this is better than any of us thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. This is going to give some of us opportunities. And then wait. It's been 5 years since we filmed.
Yeah.
5 years. Wow. So it's coming out now. We had our world premiere at Kevin Smith's Smod Castle Cinema in Jersey. It was well received.
Is that down there in Paulsboro where he's at?
Up in where he's at, but it's up in
it's off. He moved.
It's over. So
it's over the bridge.
It's a northern part of the Jersey Shore, but not as north as some of their Jersey Shores, but norther than we know.
Yeah.
It's not the New York North yet.
Right. It's
Central Jersey.
Like Asbury Park. All them are over there. The where the Comic Book Men was filmed. Yeah. All that stuff.
Great show, by the way. I always loved that show. It was underrated.
Weird, sad, interesting side note. Robert Bruce, who was Rob Bruce, our pop culturist, Robert and I was a collectible toy memorabilia dealer in the 90s. And Rob Bruce and I and many other people went way back. And so Rob was found in his storage area amongst his stuff dead. So he who died with the most toys won.
Wow.
Rob was also supposed to have played in Caddy Hack. He didn't show because he was a flaky guy. He did not show on the day he was supposed to be in it. So a lot of full circle stuff when we're at Kevin's theater, where he was there that day, but he didn't come to our screening. But we're there at Kevin's theater, and Kevin knew Rob, and Rob had been found dead recently, and I knew Rob. Like a lot of full circle. Weird little stuff with the collector geek community, and
that's pretty cool.
If you ever saw Toy Hunters with Jordan Hembrow and Stevie Savino,
no, I wouldn't ring a bell with me.
That was on Travel Channel and one of the other ones. So I know Jordan since he first got into business. He used to buy from me. I know Stevie, who was in the business before me, the collectible business. We would see these guys on TV on one of these reality shows every week. Guys we knew. And my friend in Rhode Island and I would be calling each other. Did you see such and such? It was on a show. Like, what is going on? It sort of got my friend's wheels going. He decided to put a show together. The producers that looked at it said, well, what else do you have? He came up with this other idea, eventually cast me in it. And that was what started me almost 10 years ago on the acting path. Now that friend.
So you have no acting training?
I have
Juilliard.
Zero training, and to this day I won't even take a class. I'm afraid it'll mess me up.
I'm a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So
cheesesteak trainer.
So when I don't know if you said it. The Springs County murderer? That's Psycho. When did that come out?
So that's 3.5.
Right
before the pandemic. Right before. So the pandemic hit like March.
Yeah.
Springs County Psycho came out like say November or something. So it had a few months, but nothing was happening with it because it was in film festivals that hadn't played yet. So all of a sudden the film festival starts shutting down, so it doesn't get into a bunch that it might have, and then ones that it was going to be in don't happen. So the ones that it got in and played, it started getting awards. Springs County Psycho was interesting because, first of all, I'm the star in it, and I did nice work in it, but I was the third person cast for that role. They had two different people that were cast for that role that didn't work out. and it just so happened that I got cast. We were 4 strangers, 2 actors, 2 guys behind the camera. One's the writer, director, editor. The other one was the primary film director of photography. 2 very young guys. Chris, when he wrote that, was like maybe 19 or something.
Oh, really?
2 guys behind the camera, 2 guys in front of the camera, 2 12-hour days. And we put together what I consider, like, in this region and in these little small indie films, one of the best that's come out in years. And,
this
and
is the 12-minute, 14-minute one you're talking about.
Yes, Springs County Psycho.
So this was filmed, or this came out right for the pandemic, which was after you had filmed Caddy Hack?
I kind of was working on them simultaneously.
I was going to say the time.
Oh, really?
At the same time. So I really got excited. I thought, wow, this is going to be.
I thought that Caddy Hack was more recent because I was going to ask you, like, was that
I'm 50 pounds heavier in Caddy Hack.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I'm round in Caddy Hack.
Oh,
well,
wow.
You had to work on that weight just for the part, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the weight for my big part.
Continuity.
Like every true auteur, I've peeled a bunch of that weight off.
Yeah.
When Stallone was in that cop movie, he had to put on 200 pounds.
Holbrook has a story. He was in a movie. He gained enough weight that they gave him 2 parts to it.
That actually happened. It got sent to Tribeca and everything. We filmed most of it in 2009, and I played the bassist. It was a Bruce Springsteen documentary about his early days in this area. I was the bassist in the band and the soundtrack and all that shit. They had to do the reshoots like at the end of 2010, which was, 15, 18 months later. Yeah. And I had gained probably about 60 pounds. So I actually played a second role because I was so unrecognizable.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Bus driver. That's so great. I work with a Philly filmmaker who's got like a little cult following. His name is Mark Mackner, and he's been doing stuff for, 20 years. He's got a character called Daisy Durkins, and we're on the 4th or 5th Daisy Durkins film, and the continuity in his films is just insane. He's filmed that. I just shot my last scenes, and it was filmed over the last year and a half. And my weight had went up and down. My hair and beard had went up and down, and like the outfit, I kept losing outfits and having to get so like my character keeps changing outfits, keeps changing how he looks all throughout.
This guy gets changed and gains weight in the same day. It's
now
crazy.
that happens, because humans are humans. The movie we were talking about, we've talked to the director and we made all the jokes on this, so we can say this as a joke. The movie Last Call has the worst continuity, where they literally change the characters' names in some scenes.
Yeah, I'm like, we're watching the movie. We're like, I'm just like taking
they're
notes.
like Francis, and then they're like, the next scene, they're like, oh, here comes Dorothy. And I'm like, did they change the fucking name? And we asked the director. And
I'm sitting there taking notes so we can do our review. And I'm like, Holbrook, wasn't that girl's name something else?
I watched it. I thought it was pretty awful, like everybody else. But I will say, the one guy that was in the main cast, it had not really had any kind of fame at all yet. Even the smaller guys in that main cast had some stuff. The one guy who hadn't really had hardly anything yet is Peter Petrikios. Pete from Overbrook. He's a good friend of mine, and he was good in it.
The long-haired, looking guy?
Wait a minute. A Greek guy from Overbrook?
That's right.
Never thought of it. Never thought that day would happen.
Find him at the Upper Dark Greek Festival.
Right into that one.
Wow.
Got a cheesesteak in the face.
St. Albans Orthodox.
So Pete is unfortunately Pete
you fed him believe it.
Can't act like he would have, could have, should have, because he cares for his mother who has a lot of health problems.
Oh, Lord.
So he's had to take a back seat for his acting.
So Caddy Hack debuts Philadelphia. Like, what's the debut schedule? The premiere schedule?
What was tomorrow? The 27th.
Okay.
It premieres, and you know what? I really want to be able to promote Puff because the Philadelphia Unnamed Film Festival, Puff, which is once a year.
I love that.
I haven't heard.
That's what we should call Holbrook in high school.
I haven't heard the backstory of that yet. Puff runs once a year. It doesn't make money. The fellow that did it because there was no more small indie film festivals in Philly anymore.
So is that Philadelphia what film festival?
It's the Unnamed.
Unnamed.
The Philly,
Philadelphia Unnamed.
No. I'm lying to you. The Philly.
Sponsored by Cureleaf Medical Marijuana.
I said it correctly the first time. The Philly. Well, whatever it is,
it's
the
Philadelphia Unnamed Film Festival.
I can't remember for sure.
That makes sense.
I apologize.
We'll go with that.
But Puff is a labor of love, and the fella, again, his health isn't great. So he does most of it himself, and he does a great job with it. But he has a relationship with Wild Eye Releasing, who puts out a ton of indie content, DVDs, CDs, Blu-rays, downloads, the whole bit. They're the ones that own and are distributing Caddy Hack. And so he had a relationship. They gave him that to do an online premiere of it a week or so ago. a small fundraiser for Puff. And so he's showing Puff. It'll be our official Philly premiere for us tomorrow night for you listeners last week or whatever. And we're hoping, that some people come out and enjoy the film tomorrow. We did a premiere.
That's a good question. I've never been to a movie premiere. I don't know how they work. Like, can people go to those, or are they just invited only type things?
It varies, but like with these little, no name films, generally there's some tickets to be sold.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Generally, there's
Colonial
some
does it a
lot.
lot.
Now, where do you like? All right, listen. If I want to go to the movies, I may go on Fandango or something. But like, where do you go to get tickets to a movie premiere like that?
Well, I think therein is the problem that small filmmakers and small theaters have a difficult time in getting the info out there that these things are available and how you buy tickets there. So for Kevin Smith stuff, you can buy on those ticket programs.
Okay.
But for a little thing like Puff, I think you probably got to buy it through Puff.
Okay.
You probably got to buy the tickets through them.
Where physically is the release?
Where is that showing?
Yeah, where's the
they are
Passyunk Avenue.
It's South Philly. It's 13th.
13th and Passyunk.
13th and Passyunk.
Right near Phillips.
Right near Phillips.
One of my favorite cheesesteak joints.
Yeah, I used to like the roast, the pork there.
Yeah, John's roast pork is great too.
Oh yeah.
No, I like the Phillips.
Oh, Phillips roast pork.
I like the Phillips.
I don't think I've ever had Phillips roast pork.
It's always
it sits in the broth too long.
It's like one of those
crumbles,
things.
And
it's like one of those things. Like I remember, I was at years ago. I was at Pat's, or no, Gene. We were at Pat's with a bunch of people from out of town, and I swear to God, there was this girl right in front of us with a group of people who ordered the hot dog. I'm like, if you ever been to Pat's, there's a long menu, and I'm sitting there going, dude, they're probably chiseling out a hot dog from 1962, dude. Like it's probably coming out of a block of ice, like Encino Man. Over here.
I never understand when I take an out of towner or somebody who's not a real foodie, even a local, and I take them somewhere where something is really good. Like you say, take them to Charlie's Burgers, and they go, "I want to have a hot dog," and you're like, "No, I took you here to get a burger. I took you to this place to get their great cheesesteak, and now you're ordering a hoagie." Like,
or they put mustard on it. And I want to drop kick.
What was it, provolone that?
I can
the Carrie asked, but no, one of them.
He put Swiss.
Swiss.
John Gary put fucking Swiss on the cheesesteak.
Now, have you guys stepped out at Delco yet to see the reopened Jim's
Oh,
West?
We're doing an entire thing on that.
I've been there 3 times already.
Okay. We're going to do an entire, because it's absolutely a wild
We're probably going to go there and film some stuff.
It was covered by
I'll use another prop. This is the Philly cheesesteak book that's been years out of print. And I have a full page or 2 pages in there. The Battle of the Cheesesteaks became the Battle of the cheesesteak hats. So when I marketed and sold the Philly cheesesteak hat, a guy in Jersey with a costume company created one that he made cheaper and sold for more, and it was a whole thing. So I'm in the cheesesteak book. I went out on the AP Wire in '98 at the world's biggest cheesesteak. I got the first piece, and I got the quote that went around the world. We had a losing season that year with the Birds, and I think the quote was like, our team ain't doing much, but you make a hell of a cheesesteak or something. So
fair enough.
So I went on that. So I've always been a cheesesteak guy. I have frequented, sort of unhappily, the Springfield gyms because I always liked gyms, and I was just hoping someday something might happen. And then West Philly opened back up. I was like, yes, they got all the original cooks. They got the original stuff.
I did love the West Philly one growing up, especially growing up.
The line's brutal.
Kind of not far.
The line's brutal. I had to leave the other day because I was running late.
Oh yeah.
It's 45 minutes to an hour.
So,
it's like going to Leo's now.
Right. So can we circle back?
Yeah.
So you're talking with getting the movie out to different festivals, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about selling the tickets. Yeah. Be honest with you, within the horror genre with people, right? That's how we found out about things, like from word of mouth.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if it wasn't for things like Facebook and Instagram and all the socials, right, we wouldn't know about a lot of these movies. Absolutely. So back in the spring, I went and saw a movie called Hayride to Hell. It was made out in Wayne, and it was
I didn't hear about that.
It's coming back to Colonial in a couple of weeks. I'll send you the thing, but it's one of those things that because people follow the Colonial because of Blobfest, and they have their Fright Fest and all those.
I'm friends with a bunch of the guys involved with that, with Lobo and with New Whalen. And
is Blobfest just a big festival of the movie The Blob?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's at the Colonial where scenes were filmed.
The original, or like
the original?
Do they play the remakes and all that stuff too, or is it just the original?
All tons of stuff.
Okay.
Great.
There's memorabilia and dealers and vendors and events and things.
I can't believe there's a whole fest around the block. That's
great.
crazy.
It's like 22 years now. And I've been to about 15.
And it's a couple days, right? It's not just a one day, right?
No, it's 3 days.
Yeah, it's a
3-day festival.
About the block.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
So
can I ask you a question? Because I don't know if you guys both could answer this one. The word campy.
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Or
it's a great thing.
Like if as you maybe as an actor and like said, oh, is this like a campy movie? You'd be like, would you get mad at me for asking that question?
Listen, there's auteur actors who studied Strasberg, studied method, who probably did stage work and feel a certain kind of way about things. But for me, as a guy who, in my 50s is still trying to make it, whatever that even is, I just want to get eyeballs, and I want to hope that I'm doing good work and that my work's getting better and that I'm getting better opportunities. So whatever gets eyeballs in this horror genre that has grown and grown the last 15, 20 years,
it's fantastic.
Everything sells. It's like the campy stuff sells, the ridiculous and absurdist sells, the really horrific horror stuff, and then the almost disgusting. It all has fans. I appreciate that I was lucky to get in this horror comedy because I'm not a horror guy.
So now let me ask you that question. You used the term horror comedy. Is that the same thing as campy, or is it two different things? Well, subgenres and all that. I get lost.
Well, this horror comedy is campy.
So campy is a description. It's not actually a genre, or is it?
No, I think it's much more of a description. Campy is sort of tongue in cheek.
Because I'll tell you right now, I actually used to go out and buy, like back in the day when DVDs were a big thing. Because you don't have to anymore. Because you can get a lot of these campy horror movies, like the low budget, sillier type ones on, for free on Netflix or Prime and all that stuff. But I got this like 75 pack of like just some crazy, like low budget horror movies that I love them. I think they're great. They're good. Like you said, they're funny, so they're good for a laugh, and you get that horror.
I've got friends around the country who are becoming quasi-famous for different things. For instance, Addison Binnick has Psycho Ape, and it had Kansas Bowling, the girl that was like an indie director, producer herself at like 17 or 18, and then she was in the recent Tarantino movie. She's just real quick in there, but she got a lot more buzz because of that. She was in Psycho Ape. And Psycho Ape came out, and it literally is a guy in an ape costume. They purposely go ahead and show that he has sneakers on and whatever. He's going around killing people with bananas. And it got such a buzz and such a following. He just crowdfunded for the second one and got like 10 times the money he was asking for in like the first week. Like it's
interested me. Psycho Ape.
Psycho Ape. And so he's working again with Kansas Bowling, again with Bill Whedon. Bill is an 80-year-old actor with long hair and blue jeans, as always ever in. And he was friends with Ben Stiller's parent. Like he's been around for decades and decades. He was in Sergeant Kabuki Man from Trauma, and he was in. So Bill's got a cult following.
Is that what the heck's that?
Lloyd.
No, I always Tromaville. I always think, what's that?
Well, Toxic Avengers is being done right now as a mainstream film.
Yeah.
But they have to license that through Lloyd and his partner. Lloyd is the longest running independent studio in America, 50 years. And I just appeared with Lloyd.
I used to love Toxic Avenger movies.
They
even made a cartoon out of a campy like booby movie. I call it, like where they just girls got topless to make the movie even more interesting to people, and they made a Saturday morning cartoon about it. Hey, Delco, would you like to sell your house quickly without having to fix anything or go through a realtor? Are you behind on your mortgage or property taxes? Did you inherit a property? Are you a landlord just tired of fixing leaky toilets? Well, we got the answer for you. Visit www.evanbuyspa.com for a no-obligation cash offer. That's right, Evan buys houses in Delco for cash, as is. For a fair cash offer, go to www.evanbuyspa.com. With Evan, you don't have to pay any commissions, and you can close on the date of your choice. If there's anything you want to leave behind on the property, like heavy furniture, trash bags, all the junk in the basement, you can do it. And for a limited time, he will cover all your closing costs. That's right. Visit evanbuyspa.com. That's evanbuyspa.com. Again, the website is evanbuyspa.com.
Lloyd in that world is akin to Stan Lee in the comic world. Lloyd is a celebrity of his own. He appears in his films sometimes and in other people's films. And Lloyd and I riffed and did ad lib in Mark's movie. So when that comes out in a few months, Lloyd and I are in that, kind of doing a bunch of silly stuff together.
Now, the new Toxic Avenger has the midget from the Game of Thrones in it. Peter
Dinklage, yeah.
Yeah, and
so wait, is he going to be small in this, or like
I think so.
Or are they putting his face on something else?
Well, maybe when he grows into the Toxic Avenger, but
kind of like they reversed for Captain America. They made him real skinny, and shorter, and then they made him taller.
Well,
and
platform shoes, that'll help.
Be interesting to see.
I'm just more concerned with number one. Psycho Ape holds a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and its tagline is: "A killer gorilla escapes from the Detroit Zoo and goes on a murdering spree." Hold on to your bananas, boys! Here comes the Psycho Ape.
That's what we say when Homer comes out of his house.
Almost Detroit.
The tagline for the new one is something like, first they came from below the Planet of the Apes, and then they were something else. This is a movie too. It was like this is a movie too. I was like, nice.
Yeah, and that's what I love about those type of things. Like they take nothing serious, and they do just and like I said, it's the best escape, the best kind of movie.
Yeah.
So you were saying about October 10th is when anybody will be able to see it.
Yeah, for our film, going back to Caddy Hack.
Yes.
From Wild Eye Releasing. It will be online, available to be viewed online for a fee on the 10th. It will come out on Blu-ray, DVD, and a Blu-ray special edition with a poster and this and that is on the 24th, 2 weeks later. I will have those for anybody from Delco who might want to own this wonderful film. I will have those and be glad to either autograph it or not, if they prefer not. I'll have those available.
Well, we'll have an autograph hung up here in the studio. That's pretty cool. So amazing. And any other, like, you don't have to, I guess you can only disclose so much, but any other projects in the works, or is it currently
Psycho Ape 2, Psycho Ape?
Yeah, I can't.
Wait, what was that?
Psycho Ape 2, Let's Go Bananas.
Oh, God.
I couldn't afford to go to LA, or I would have went out and did something inside Psycho Ape for sure.
You're telling me it wasn't filmed on location in Detroit?
No, the first one was filmed primarily in New York and all around the country. He had people that would send in scenes and he put them in, and then he went and filmed with people in different places. They did a bunch of stuff in New York. Addison from the Midwest, but they did some stuff out there. They did some stuff in New York. Anyway, getting off, I'm promoting the hell out of his project and not promoting ours as much as I could.
Have you seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
It's fantastic.
I know people love it.
I was going to ask that question. It was good.
It was fantastic. And the one that came out right before that with the banana splits, Death, that was even better.
I didn't see.
So
heard about both of them.
And before I have to ask this question because I had this written down too. Who's that? He's used to make those type of horror movies. He's a famous director.
There's a guy in Pennsylvania.
No, but I mean, like,
big.
He's actually a big.
The dude who did Evil Dead, was this Sam Raimi?
Not Sam Raimi. Why am I completely blanking on his name? And they used to do. They put out like a fake horror movie. Trailer years and years ago that circled around and people thought it was going to be a real movie, that they're actually making a movie now. It was famous because it was like people got freaked out because it was a girl just jumping on a trampoline, just like a cheerleader, and then a knife comes through the bottom of the trampoline and she does a split on it, and it just cuts away, and that was it. That wasn't the whole trailer, but most of it. I can't remember.
Add that to the list.
It's all about buzz. Like
I'm telling you, but I can't remember. But they're actually making it a movie. And one of my favorite movies was, if you want to go Candy Horror, was Thanksgiving with the killer turkey.
Dude, that right after Poultrygeist. Dude, there's a whole genre of those movies. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Another one they made Saturday morning cartoons about.
Exactly. And John Astin, he was the evil doctor in 2, 3, and 4. Great movie. Do you remember Roll? The whole movie is a tire, right? Rolling.
I heard about
Rubber.
I haven't seen it.
Isn't that Rubber?
Rubber
is one of the most brilliant movies I've ever seen.
I'm telling you, if you drop some, have a couple mushrooms for it, because it is friggin'. You can't understand what it's going, and that actually makes it make sense.
Yep, that's
right.
Awesome.
You know, that whole genre.
You guys got to follow Newt Wallen because he's a local guy. He's living right now in I think Manayunk. He's a Jersey guy. He ran the Wayne Theater for years. He's a theater geek growing up and then doing this stuff. And he's had some stuff that came close. He was involved for a while with a company that did well, and then he had a little falling out. But now he's got like 10 different things that are in production with different people. He just writes for they pay him to write something and that sort of thing. He's got a bunch of that going on, and Newt's going to have a ton of those coming out, all funny names and just silly premises. I was supposed to be in one of his projects that fell apart. I think one of the ones he just put together was Dracula, but it's a vampire or something.
Oh
yeah,
God.
like
genius. It's like what was that Stephen King movie with the killer car? Christine.
Oh, yeah. And if you read the book Christine, the first paragraph talks about Christine being in Darby, right outside of Liberty Town.
Mm-hmm.
Just telling you first.
Yep. Interesting. Well, do you know
in the book, not the book from the movie, the actual book.
One of my favorite Delco tirades is to tell people, if you're a Delco fan and you're a reader, you should read the true crime trifecta, which is and it only touches on Delco, and it's semi-true, which is So I Hear You Paint Houses, which is the Irishman story. Yep. Okay. He went to BVM in Darby and lived in Darby and stuff.
Father Gallagher.
How the mob infiltrated MCA. Stiffed. How the mob infiltrated MCA is totally Delaware County, all kinds of lands down and Darby and stuff. And what's my other one I'm drawing the blank on? And Born to Be Wild. Oh. He's a Fallcroft guy that wrote it. He doubled it up when he republished it a few years ago. Barry Bowe.
He was threatened,
and that is
His son,
if he hadn't been a hard ass, if he hadn't been a hard ass himself, he would have buckled. But Barry was a hard ass, so he didn't buckle under it. But they wanted to kill him.
The son of the guy and the son of the biker is actually a fireman down in Oxford now.
Okay.
Great kid. I mean, I grew up with him. So great kid.
There was a lot of heat. Brad Etten, who was the president of the gang back in those days, became a preacher, and he would be on TV shows and stuff, and people would like, well, what about this? And he would just like kind of not answer, and there was a lot of controversy with that. I dated a niece of his in the 80s, so I find local history, whether it's Philly, whether it's Delco, I find local history and pop culture.
Yeah, send stuff our way too. Like people, anything we're always looking for more interviews. We're always looking for more things. Doesn't always have to be Delco directly, but local tie-ins are great. Yeah. So the movies, Caddy Hack.
Caddy Hack.
Caddy Hack.
Caddyshack
the premiere, the theater premiere will be on the 27th September. So you probably missed that by now. Yep. But you're gonna be able to get it on your digital downloads, Blu-rays, DVDs on the 10th of October.
Between the 10th and the 24th. The 10th is you can get it online. The 24th is you can get physical media.
Right. What's it rated?
Awesome.
I think a PG-13. I had a scene in no lie here. I have a dance off in it, and I was in super high cut Daisy Dukes with my ass cheeks and the fellas hanging out.
Oh wow!
And all of that was cut because I think they wanted to keep the better rating so that it could go a little broader.
So I can bring the little warrior to it. It'll be good. All right, good.
How long? Just don't take out your little warrior during the movie.
No.
Movie like
a full-length film, like an hour and a half or something. I'll tell you what. If you're not looking for the finest filming and the greatest movie that was ever made, as long as your standards aren't that high, it's a really funny.
Look at us.
Really,
we don't even know how to spell standards.
But somebody in your audience might not be from Delco.
Anybody in our audience don't care about standards.
It's really funny, really entertaining.
Was it filmed at a Trenton area?
Pretty much in the Trenton area.
The golf course and all that was used.
I think they did one shot or something at the actual golf course. The girl that's the lead. It actually works at a course, and I think they might have shot something at her course. Just the course in the film is Old Glory Holes. So just to give you an idea, old Glory Holes.
All right, guys. Well,
one more question.
Yeah.
Do you fear Harold Ramis's estate will come after you for copyright infringement?
Can't happen. Fortunately, there's a wide swath for anything that's in parody, and this is so far from the original.
Good.
We don't copy their story by any means. Right. It's just a jumping off point.
Right, no Rodney in it. No.
Hey, I know Rodney.
That'd be funny. They're doing that. But guys, it's called Caddy Hack.
No Coke. Hey.
He's Big Mike. He's the Mad Darbarian. And guys, look below on the links. We'll have everything there for you. Check it out. And hopefully we'll have Big Mike back to talk about more movies, more local stuff, more great campy horror and all that stuff going on.
And a campy life.
A campy life. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. And
Thanks
we'll
for having
see you
me.
next time.
See ya.